Imagine it is 2:30 in the morning. It is pitch black. It is freezing cold. Suddenly, a bell rings. In the modern world, if your alarm goes off at 2:30 a.m., it's an emergency. You have a flight to catch, or your house is on fire. Your body screams in protest. Your brain is groggy. But for thousands of men and women across medieval Europe and thousands who still live in monasteries today, this was the start of the workday. They would rise from their straw mattresses, walk silently through stone corridors to the chapel, and spend the next hour chanting complex Latin psalms in the dark. Then they would go back to bed. This is the ritual of Matins, the night office, and Lauds, the dawn office. To the modern mind, this looks like torture. We are obsessed with the solid 8 hours. We are told that interrupted sleep is bad sleep. We view sleep as a singular block of time designed to recharge our batteries for the economy. But what if the monks know something we don't? What if this broken sleep schedule isn't a violation of biology, but actually the natural state of the human animal? And what if the time between the first sleep and the second sleep creates a unique chemical state in the brain that makes God feel more real? Welcome back. Today, on Religion for Breakfast, we are putting on our pajamas and analyzing the liturgy of the hours. We are going to explore the lost history of biphasic sleep, the neuroscience of the 3 a.m. brain, and why the invention of the light bulb might have killed the most mystical moment of the day. To understand the sleep deprivation, we have to look at the rulebook. In the 6th century, Saint Benedict of Nursia wrote the Rule of Saint Benedict. It became the constitution for Western monasticism. Benedict was obsessed with time management. He believed that idleness is the enemy of the soul. So, he designed a schedule called the Horarium. It divided the day into periods of prayer, work, and reading. But the most controversial part was the night. Benedict commanded that the monks rise for the night office vigils or matins at the 8th hour of the night, roughly 2 o'clock or 3 a.m., depending on the season. Why? Why not just pray at 6 a.m.? Theology. The monks believed they were the watchmen on the walls of Zion. While the world slept and sinned under the cover of darkness, the monk was awake to do battle with the demons and pray for the world. Psalm 119 says, "At midnight I will rise to give thanks unto thee." Benedict took this literally. So, the monk's life was defined by the interruption. He never got a full night's rest. He lived in a state of perpetual, mild exhaustion. For centuries, historians looked at this schedule and thought, wow, monks are weird. They force themselves to wake up in the middle of the night. But in the early 2000s, a historian named Roger Ekirch dropped a bombshell. He studied hundreds of diaries, court records, and medical texts from the pre-industrial era. He found that everyone, not just monks, slept like this. Before the invention of the light bulb, human sleep was biphasic to phases. 1. First sleep. People went to bed around 9 p.m. shortly after sunset. They slept for about 4 hours. 2. The watch. They woke up naturally around midnight or 1 a.m. They stayed awake for an hour or 2. 3. Second sleep. They went back to bed and slept until dawn. Ekirch found that during this midnight gap, the watch people did all sorts of things. Peasants tended the fire. Philosophers wrote. Couples well-conceived children. In fact, manual guides from the 16th century advised that the best time for conception was after the first sleep because the body was rested. So, the monks weren't inventing a torture method. They were ritualizing a biological reality. The difference was that while the peasant might check the cows or chat with his wife, the monk dedicated this natural gap to God, The church took a biological window and filled it with theology. Now, let's look at the specific flavor of these prayers. Matins, now often called the office of readings, happens in the deep dark. It is the longest, most intellectual service. It involves long readings from scripture and church fathers. The psychology of Matins is introspection. It is about sitting in the void. The darkness represents the tomb. It represents the state of the world before Christ. It represents the silence of the soul waiting for a word. Lauds morning prayer happens at dawn as the second sleep ends. This is the service of praise. Lauds comes from laudate. The psychology is explosion. The sun is rising. The resurrection has happened. The birds are singing. Benedict instructed that Psalms 148 to 150 be sung hither, noisy psalms. The transition from Matins to Lauds is the transition from death to life. By breaking their sleep, the monks force themselves to physically act out the drama of salvation every single night. They go into the darkness first sleep, they wait in the tomb Matins, and they rise again. French speakers in the Middle Ages had a word for this time between sleeps. Dorvel wake sleep. Neuroscientists today are fascinated by this state. When you wake up after 4 hours of sleep, your brain is not fully awake. You have high levels of prolactin, a hormone associated with relaxation and peace. You are likely still in a mild theta wave state. In this state, the ego, the critical, nagging, planning part of the brain's weaker. The imagination is stronger. This is why the mystics loved Matins. It is very hard to have a mystical vision at 2 p.m. after a heavy lunch. It is much easier to have a mystical vision at 3 a.m. in a candlelit choir, when you are slightly sleep deprived and your brain chemistry is swimming in dream hormones. The Dorvel is a liminal space. It is a thin place between worlds. By instituting Matins, the Church created a systematic way to access this altered state of consciousness. They produced the mystical experience by manipulating the circadian rhythm. However, we can't ignore the element of suffering. In the stricter orders like the Carthusians or Trappists, the sleep interruption was intentional asceticism. Saint Benedict warned against somnolence, drowsiness. He instructed the monks to gently encourage each other if they saw a brother nodding off, but other orders were harsher. If you fell asleep during Matins, you had to do penance. Why? Because sleep is the ultimate surrender to the flesh. To deny sleep is to assert the spirit over the body. It is a form of white martyrdom. You aren't being eaten by lions, but you are killing your own comfort, hour by hour. This vigilance was meant to mirror the parable of the 10 virgins. You must keep your lamp trimmed and burning, for you do not know when the bridegroom Jesus comes. If he comes at 3 a.m. and you are snoring, you missed the wedding. So, what happened? In the late 19th century, Thomas Edison invented the light bulb. Suddenly, night ceased to exist. We could extend the day until 11 p.m. We compressed our sleep. Instead of 2 blocks of 4 hours, we started trying to sleep 1 block of 8 hours. The watch disappeared. The Dorvel disappeared. And for the monasteries, this created a crisis. In the modern world, even monks have electricity. Their circadian rhythms shifted. Waking up at 3 a.m. became harder because they were staying up later. Artificial light. After the Second Vatican Council, 1960s, the Catholic Church reformed the liturgy. They made Matins optional for many. They allowed it to be prayed the night before. Many modern monasteries now wake up at 5:30 a.m. or 6 a.m. The night watch has largely been abandoned, except by the most rigorous contemplative. orders, we gained efficiency. We gained better sleep, arguably. But we lost the holy hour. We lost the time of night that belongs to poetry and prayer. There is a fascinating theory that modern insomnia, specifically middle-of-the-night insomnia, where you wake up at 3 a.m. and can't go back to sleep, is not a disorder. It is an evolutionary echo. Your body is trying to have first sleep and second sleep, but your anxiety tells you that something is wrong. You lay there stressing about being awake, which releases cortisol, which keeps you awake. The medieval monk would tell you, stop fighting it, get up. If you wake up at 3 a.m., maybe don't reach for your phone, maybe don't reach for the sleeping pills. Maybe sit in the dark, light a candle, read a poem, breathe. You are entering the door veil. You are stepping into the time slot that humanity reserved for God for 10,000 years. The monks didn't break their sleep. They used the break to break through to something else. If you enjoyed this late-night investigation, hit subscribe. Next up, we are exploring night hags and why people used to believe that sleep paralysis was a literal demon sitting on their chest.